I'm always amazed by people who play multiple FPSs. I understand it because you can't compare Siege and Valorant and COD. You can a little bit, but those games, the way you play them and strategy wise, they're so different. But even for myself, I have no desire to go and play Siege or to learn how to play Valorant or play CSGO. None of those games interest me because I want just one FPS, and that happened to be Call of Duty when I was a kid. I could have been a Battlefield kid. All the stuff that we're saying, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but if you've got hackers in the game, that kills everything. If you have people that are going into the game and ruining it for the vast majority of players, or again, like right now, all these connectivity issues, I don't care how good your game is. If you can't do that, then you're not going to play. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 225 of the COD Casuals podcast. We're your host, Mike.
I'm Justin.
Justin, how we doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good. Beautiful weather outside today.
Goddamn right it is, bro.
But I swear to God, it's only beautiful during the week, and then the weekend it rains. And I think we've said that a couple weeks in a row now. But apparently, I saw a stat come out like related to Massachusetts that this week, if it rains this Saturday, 12 weeks in a row of rain, that is diabolical.
Bro, I was just gonna say to you, because that's what my mom told me. She called me because I work on Saturday. So afterwards, she was like, "Oh, how was work?" And I was like, "Man, it's depressing because every Saturday I gotta wake up, and when I hate looking out that window, I'm like, bro, I don't want to go anywhere. It's diabolical." Yeah, 12 goddamn weeks in a row.
That's crazy.
I know, man. Yeah, and like I thought I was going crazy, thinking that it was going all the time, because it's like one of the days will be rainy. Or at least it morphs into it. Like this past Saturday, I don't know by you, but here it was like rainy in the morning, and then halfway through it was nice and sunny, and then it was just gray, and then it rained for the rest of the day after like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, puts you in a bad mood. Like I just don't want to. I like an unproductive mood too. Like I don't want to do shit when it's like that.
Yeah, I know. It's like most people work Monday through Friday, and the weather's just beautiful Monday through Friday, where we're all just inside.
Yeah,
for the most part, and then the weekend comes and it's just rainy.
Yeah,
can't even do anything.
Right. And I'd say too, because today was like particularly a perfect day. It was like just warm enough out where you could be, kind of all round like what you were wearing. If you wanted to throw a jacket on, like a light jacket, you could, but it wasn't sweltering hot. And I'm always going to be on that side. I can't really deal with the 90s, like 90, 95 in that realm, and it's super nice out. Like when it's like that, I'm going to be outside, like doing something, physical, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get absolutely sweaty, like that's my purpose. If I'm going to go out to just run an errand, it's going to piss me off because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be drenched. And I'm like, bro, I didn't do anything.
Those, those like high 80, 90 days here are like, those are just beach days or pool days. Like you shouldn't do anything else because you're just going to sweat.
Right. It's not worth it. But now, otherwise, though, man, things have been going well. Like we were just talking before, getting settled in the spot, which is nice. I finally got that freaking that table built. I was so pissed, bro. I'll tell you really quick. So when we did the podcast last Thursday, I like after we ended, I was up till like 10:30, and then I got to the spot in the book where they're like, "This is a good place to pause." I was like, "Okay, yeah." It's like now's a nice time for a break. I was like, "Okay, I'll take your advice there," and they were totally right. And then the next day, I'm like, "Okay, I'll get home." Bro, people were like, "Yo, can you do this? Can you do this?" I'm like, man. So then, didn't even touch it Friday. Like, man, those days were pissing me off. Seeing that box and just seeing all this.
There.
Bro, seeing all this crap. It drove me absolutely nuts. That's like my thing. I have to go and get more stuff, but I hate the boxes.
Dude, the boxes suck because like there's no easy way to just get rid of them. Like you just have to break all of them down and then throw them in your recycling bin, and it takes up so much space.
Well, so dude, they have this they've got like, a dumpster here for everybody to use. Bro, this guy, I don't know who he is, man, but he threw his whole couch in there.
Why? He didn't
Yeah.
leave it to the
Yeah.
side or anything?
No, no, no. His whole couch is in there. Like, first off, I don't know how he had to have had a couple of his buddies
Yeah.
throw this thing over the top because there's just
Mhm,
no way to get it through that little sliding door, you know? So this prick took up the whole thing now with his giant ass couch,
mhm,
and I've got these boxes. I'm like, bro, I can't put it in this hole now because you've got
mhm.
it pressed up against here. So now everyone's got to throw things over. It's like, dude, inconsiderate. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
Who puts a
Uh,
couch in the trash like that?
yeah.
You know?
You leave that to the side.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I thought I was tripping him. I was like, dude, do you really need to do that? Like, I don't think it's necessary,
Yeah.
you know. But what are you gonna do about it? But anyway, um, dude, we got a couple of things to talk about today for sure. I mean, there's been a rough start to the season 4 launch,
Mhm.
which I think in the last episode, yeah, this is honestly surprising that this is going on. But something else I wanted to touch on quick too. By the time people are listening to this, it officially has ended. xDefiant. We need a little candlelight vigil, a moment of silence. Tomorrow is the official day, which is what June 3rd,
Mhm.
that it's biting the bullet. Um, I don't know. It's XDefiant, of course, just died out like we expected it to because it's going to be competing with Call of Duty. But to actually see it completely shut down and be a game that's never going to be playable again, it is a bit sad, don't you think?
Yeah, it definitely is, like, especially for the developers that like, all the people that worked on it, that worked so hard, and your game's just dead now. Like,
Right.
all that hard work you did is just gone. Um, I mean, look, I think we kind of predicted it. I think a lot of people did that were realistic about this. It was kind of inevitable. You're going up against, Titan, not just Call of Duty, but Titans in general in the shooter space. So it was only a matter of time.
Yeah, I think it was too, of course. But for me, it's also a scary sign of what's to come because they did have a really good idea. And I think it definitely still could have been around if it was handled a bit better, you
Mhm.
know. And to what they could have actually done, I'm not too sure, but I think just in general, launching with Call of Duty, like being a direct competitor to it, um, it shows a sign to anybody else who'd ever want to enter that space and try to compete with them, that it is incredibly difficult, or for them, it's nearly impossible to try to have something that people can play alongside Call of Duty.
Mhm.
Because I know we talked a while ago about Battlefield coming back, and I wonder if that player base, since it's been so long since the last Battlefield came out, that there's still going to be a really strong base of people that are going to go to that game. Now, I'm not saying Battlefield's going to get shut down. I doubt it
Mhm.
will. But like, is it going to actually be a successful game, or is it going to be one that launches, people are excited about it for a month or two, and then it completely falls flat, and they just have it on life support?
Yeah, I mean, look, going up against Activision is a tough ask for any developer. And I mean, XDefiant was developed by Ubisoft, and Ubisoft isn't like a small, dev or anything, but like if you want to compete with them with Activision, you need to just pour in resources, like a ton of money, basically, just to keep the game alive. And if the player base just isn't there, then there's really no point in keeping it. Like you may have a really good idea, and at the time, obviously, X Defiant, it was a great idea because people were complaining about how bad COD was and all this stuff. And they sort of capitalized on some players, but it was inevitable that people would just come back to COD. And
Right.
at least with Battlefield, I think the fact that it hasn't been out for a while, that people will go to it. But I don't even remember the last Battlefield. I know a lot of people are hyped up about that one, played it for a couple months, and then it just died again.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to go up against COD.
And what I don't understand about I think just the FPS community in general is I thought that X Defiant, the whole reason it was going to be successful, or the basis for their success, was that they were going to be listening to what people wanted in
Mhm.
an FPS title, because they felt that COD hadn't delivered that in years. And I mean, from when I played it, I liked it. I thought it was a good game. But again, I didn't. I didn't have that big of an issue with Call of Duty. You know, there was obviously those loud voices that were saying the game was terrible and they were never going to play it again, and they were hoping to replace it with xDefiant. But I don't know what that says about the player base in the FPS realm,
Mm.
that they they voiced what they wanted, right? And xDefiant, for the most part, delivered on what they wanted, and it still didn't happen.
Mhm.
You know, and it doesn't really make sense to me. You know, they made exactly what you were looking for in a title that COD is not bringing, but people still stuck with COD, and
Mhm.
they let this game die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just shows that no one really knows what they want. Like, people just I mean, they'll never be satisfied, right? You're not gonna get everyone to enjoy your game, but clearly the demographic that XDefiant was trying to capture, they captured them for, you know, what, a couple months,
Right.
if that, and then everybody went back to COD. Like, because COD is COD, dude. Like, you can't you can try to compete against COD, but you and I both know any other shooter you go to, it will never feel like that. COD is just so smooth and not like super clunky at all. And even the CODs where it is really clunky, it doesn't compare to the other games.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's the biggest selling point with Call of Duty is just honestly, like, you know, it sounds dumb saying it's the gameplay, but that arcade feel, they have that captured so well. Honestly, in all the titles that you end up playing, I'd say maybe minus like, you know, MW 2019. Um, but even to that point, X Defiant felt hella arcadey, you
Mhm.
know? Like it felt like it fit that niche or niche perfectly. And I don't know. It is just sad to see it go because the amount of hype and excitement around the game, it was people were like labeling it as the COD killer.
Mhm.
And then here it is, you know, like I don't even know when X Defiant launched. I mean, it has to be what, almost over a year now that that game came
Yeah.
out.
I mean, we can go back and look at our episodes. It's definitely over a year.
Yeah, I mean, to think from like when it started and then honestly just had like, you know, a like I say pretty good start, but then slowly after that, just on a steady decline down until, you know, now they had to make this call. Yeah, it's May 21st, 2024. That's what it
Mhm.
was. So just about a year ago. Well, yeah, a little bit over a year ago now. Um, Within that time span, it was all the way at the top and then it went all the way down to the floor. Um, yeah, I believe what you said before is definitely right. People just don't know what they want in gaming in general. You
Mhm.
know, they give them all the resources and say that this is what we want and what we're looking for, and it's still not enough for them.
Yeah, and again, like COD players especially, we're all biased to whatever COD we're playing, right? But I do think the new gen of players, uh, they want a fast-paced game. And X Defiant was not, that fast-paced game. Like even you and I, we play every COD. We adapt to it. And yeah, we like talk about it, maybe shit on it a little bit, but at the end of the day, we're adapting to the COD and we're gonna play it no matter what.
Right.
So we've played those slow games and we've also played the really fast games. And going from Black Ops 6 to X Defiant is like night and day. X Defiant was so slow compared
Yeah.
to like Black Ops. And if you're taking a big group of or a big population of people from Black Ops 6 and then putting them onto X Defiant, they're gonna be used to that, high speed game.
Right.
And X Defiant did not provide that. And I know XDefiant, a lot of people were that really want to play it were older people like you and I, the older CODs. So I don't know. I think that says something. Like you and I did enjoy it, but at the end of the day, we went back to the newer COD, which was faster. Um, which will, it it brings up the question like if they made a slower COD like that again, right? Like an MW2 or MW3, would that even do that well? That I have no idea. And, you know, that just brings us back to the answer of no one really knows what they want. You and I just adapt to whatever they give us, we just play. And hopefully it's good.
Right. That's how I've always felt about it. I never really questioned like what it was that they were putting out
Mhm.
because again, we've played so many different titles over the years and had so many different experiences that there's really not much else that they could throw at us that would be different enough from what we've had in the past, you
Mhm.
know? Um, but I never thought about it that way with xDefiant, that because the main person that everybody was rallying behind with it was Aches, because he was working on the development of that. To what level I really don't know, but um, he's kind of the poster child for people who were, old pros back in the day and much
Mhm.
prefer those CODs. And I would say a lot of people, again, in that like, mid to late 20s, probably more on the later side, they want those games. Um, but to think that, yeah, they may be a dying breed. Like the people that are coming up now, they experience all these fast games, and yeah, they don't know anything else. So when they
Mhm.
go to something like that, it's like the worst thing on planet Earth for them.
Mhm.
It would be all I say it wouldn't be bad for us, but it would be really strange for us. Like we talked before about trying to go back to playing MW3, or if you went to go and play Black Ops 2. Those games for us, we played them before and we have that nostalgia with them. But for some people, like, man, I think of like any of the kids at school that I teach who they started on MW2,
Mhm.
which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they wouldn't even like that game would probably feel like shit to them.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
would be no trip down memory lane. They're like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah, yeah, and that's crazy to start off, like, your COD, your first time ever playing COD, you have tac sprint. Like, that's all they know, that's their movement, and it's just faster for them, Like, I mean, they think it's faster, uh,
Right.
but, yeah, like, if we went back and played any of the older games, obviously, like, anyone that's played them will adjust after a handful of games, but any of these new gen kids growing up, if they went back and played, they're like, "What is the hype with this? Because this sucks."
Yeah, that's where my question is. I wonder if that would be the reaction if kids who have never played those older titles for the first time would play them, like give them a couple of days or a week of playing, what they would think of the game.
Mhm,
If they would actually think that, damn, this is actually a really good game. I see all the hype behind it. Like, why haven't they done, X in all the
mhm.
newer CODs? Or they would be like, dude, you're bugging. This game is
Yeah.
terrible. Like, it's so slow. Everything about it. Like, there's not enough options. The maps are okay. Like, that's probably a selling point for them. But I wonder what their reaction would be.
Yeah, yeah, and something that I just thought of is, um, like, what what if you took these kids and, put them in MW3, we'll say, right? And they're consistently just thinking about, oh, how this compares to like the MW3 that they just played in 20, what, 22? No, 23.
Yeah.
Um, and they're just gonna be like, wow, the new MW3 that was remastered is so much better than what you guys played on. There's no hype around the old ones at all
Right.
anymore. And the other thing is these new gen kids, right? Like I'd imagine they're the biggest population uh that like any developer is trying to capture, right? Because most people that play video games, I would say, are on the younger side, and xDefiant was made to capture like the older, like 20-year-olds like us, that played those old CODs. And as you get older, for the most part, a lot of people like slowly fizzle out on just video games, right? So now the population's just decreasing. And I wonder if, that's happening right now, where a lot of us we're getting older and we go and play like xDefiant and we enjoy it. And there's just not a big enough community of us enjoying those slower games because you can't convert the new kids onto that.
I think that's fair. I think just in general, it's part of life, right? Everyone gets older and they're just able to game less and less.
Mhm,
I mean, like we're definitely prime examples of that. Like
mhm,
things happen in your life and you can't just be sitting and gaming 6 hours a day like you used to.
mhm,
Like back when we were playing, the original MW2 and MW3. Um, so yeah, even to have a game that is modeled around those, yeah, if I was totally in on xDefiant, I would be playing it for sure, but would I be playing it every day, hours a day? Absolutely not. know?
hmm
And
which
that's not like what they need. They need a steady,
mhm,
consistent player base.
yeah, which I guess you can look at. Nostalgia doesn't capture everyone. Like if they went and remastered MW2 or MW3 again, um, they would capture our like little population of players growing up playing that COD. But there's an even bigger population now of all the younger generation kids that never played that and they want to play something else.
Right.
So at the end of the day, bottom line for them, it's not going to be worth it for them. And xDefiant, I'm sure that's not the entire reason why it failed, but I'm sure that's part of it. Like they thought the population that they were going to get was going to be much bigger.
No doubt. They thought they were gonna take way more people away from Call of Duty than
Mhm.
they actually did.
And it's not just the
Um,
old heads; it's the younger gen
r
too.
Yeah, because those are gonna be the kids who are gonna just keep on playing,
Mhm.
and most of them, because COD is just so synonymous with being, like, the only or, like, the primary FPS, uh, there's really no room for playing other ones. That's why I'm always amazed by people who play multiple FPSs.
Mhm.
They'll go and I understand it because if you can't compare Siege and Valorant and COD.
Mhm.
You know, I mean you can a little bit, but those games, the way you play them and strategy wise, they're so different.
Mhm.
Um, but even for myself, I have no desire to go and play Siege or to play like learn how to play Valorant or play CS:GO. None of those games interest me because
Mhm.
I want just one FPS, and that happened to be Call of Duty when I was a kid. I could have been a Battlefield kid,
Mhm.
and that probably would have been my game. Or, for a lot of these kids now, there's so many that I talk to at school who, like, a lot of the kids who surprisingly are from Brazil and all this place, dude, they play Valorant like
Mhm.
mad. That's
Yeah.
all they play. They're like, oh, I have a PC, like I don't play COD at all. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really? Like,
Yeah.
that's so weird to me because when we started, that wasn't a thing. I was like, "Bro, you get a console, you get a
Mhm.
PS3 or an Xbox or whatever, and that's what you're playing. You're playing COD. You're not even Battlefield maybe, but it was like Bad Company. Those
Yeah.
were the
Yeah. Yeah.
first Battlefields, and no one was playing those online.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think when we were growing up, we just gravitated towards the faster games, but also too. I mean, I don't really remember that many FPSs like even growing up. Like COD was the FPS to play alongside with Battlefield, but even back then, everyone knew if you want a faster paced and more arcadey feel, it's COD, and if you want the more realistic, uh, you know way to play a shooter game, go to Battlefield. Now the kids growing up, they just have so many options to play. But like you said, like I'm not going to go and play Rainbow Six or Valorant because that's not the play style that like how I'm used to playing, like in COD. Obviously, because it's a completely different game, but I I want to spawn into a map and just go. You can't do that in either of those games.
Right. And the other side of it too, because, back in the PS2 and PS3 era still, like PS3 obviously was where like online with Xbox Live too, like that's when it just blew up. But there were plenty of FPSs back in the day, but they weren't multiplayer, you
Mhm,
know? Like I think of that game Splitgate, like that was an FPS that I remember playing. And same thing, like I played the old CODs, but I never played those online on the PS2. It was just
mhm,
they were all single player games. It was really because they just mastered the online thing.
mhm.
Like when you wanted to go and play an online FPS game, COD had it down perfectly. Whereas Valorant, like now that game, I don't even believe that there is a story to that game, right? There's no campaign in Valorant,
No, it's
is there?
just no.
Right,
Valorant, that's a thing. It's made to be a competitive shooter,
right.
whereas COD, like, obviously it wasn't made to be a competitive game at all.
Right. And that's where like the line is drawn
Mhm,
because now there's way more people that are into competitive gaming, obviously because of esports, but
mhm,
I also think is a real culture shift too. Like it's so easy to go and hop into Discord and go
mhm,
and do all these things and game with your friends and be competitive,
mhm,
Whereas back when COD really had its online inception, it wasn't easy to do that. Like all the forums and stuff for Call of Duty to be able to
Mhm.
set up wagers or game battles. Like, bro, I was not doing that back in the day. I didn't even
Yeah.
know that was a thing.
Yeah, and
That was like an insane amount of work.
yeah, I mean, most people just hopped on COD to play with their friends like that, and it was just public matches the entire time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, when you said other first person shooters, I that reminded me of SOCOM 4.
Yes.
That's a throwback.
Isn't there one of them? It's like SOCOM, US Navy SEALs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one that I had. I think that was on PS2.
That's 4.
That's what it is. SOCOM
Yeah,
4
yeah, yeah.
US Navy SEALs. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a good game. Those games were so ahead of their time when it came to the story and like
Mhm.
how you would actually play the game. But then I think that game did have a multiplayer.
Yeah, it did.
Um,
Yeah.
but again, it was like way ahead of its time. Like
Mhm.
coming out in the PS2 era and trying to have like a fleshed out multiplayer. I don't think it was like anywhere near as big as actually I know it wasn't anywhere near as big as it is now.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think there's just a huge not a shift, but there's like another category of multiplayer. Like before, developers would make the game for the story, like the majority of developers. And then when multiplayer came out, obviously they started integrating that if they're capable of doing it. But that was it. Now I feel like there's a category within multiplayer that's, the competitive gaming side where other developers are creating games just for that. Like they don't care. You can play multiplayer at the end of the day, but the whole game is designed to be competitive.
Right.
And it created a whole different niche of people.
Yeah, and I think that's especially with people watching it too online, and how accessible and easy it is to get online now to go play games. It's definitely aided in that. Um, I don't know when it was for us that like it must have been with the PS3 because it was free to go and play online.
Hmm.
All you needed to have was just an internet connection. If you had, I think, right, that's all you
Yeah.
had to have was just Wi-Fi, and you could go and hook up and then start playing online. Like, it
Yeah.
was the easiest thing. Again, there was no barrier for us when we were like 13 or so, 14 years old, whatever, playing PS3 to go online. Back in the PS2, it was like impossible,
Hmm.
or it was impossible, but it was like you had to go buy some shit to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
do it. And now these kids who come up, like, bro, everyone has a PC, everyone's got a laptop. You can just immediately go and do this.
Hmm.
And yeah, to the point about games being developed competitively, for sure. And it's definitely catered to the mindset of what people are into right now. That's why they've
Hmm.
done it. I mean, I think of like Marvel Rivals. A lot of people who I know play that game who have really never delved into the realm of competition in games. They love that,
Hmm.
and it's interesting to see how that's happened. People who I never would have assumed to maybe play competitive games, when they find the right game that's
Hmm.
done properly and focuses only on that and does it well, that's when it's a huge success. That's why Valorant, of course, is too. They're not splitting
Hmm.
their time towards anything. It's like, look, this game is competitive 95% through,
Hmm.
and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely much easier, I'd imagine, to create a game when the sole goal of it is to be competitive, and then after that, you can create, a just a public, ranking match where COD they're the pioneers of it, kind of. They started on the campaign side, multiplayer came, they mastered campaign, and then it was just the community that made it competitive.
Right.
And they've invested, some resources into competitive COD, but I wonder what COD would be like if they came out the gate and started it first. If they were like, yeah, we're all in on competitive Call of Duty, um, and multiplayer will be built, on the side. There will always be public matches, but we're focusing on competitive.
Yeah, I think a lot of the issues that we see right now would have been fixed.
Yeah.
Like, remember when we talked a while ago about the tier list of things, that they have to go and delegate to other people and get fixed over time. I
Hmm.
think that would have been a lot faster because it would have been easier. It would have been
Mhm.
easier to get through all of that stuff because you have one part of Call of Duty that you're trying to focus on, you know?
Mhm.
Not like right now where they have to go and develop a campaign, then they have to go and do the whole Warzone side, then they have to go and do multiplayer, then they've also got to do the ranked side, you know? They have 4 different parts of Call of Duty that they need to be updating and keeping moving
Mhm.
so that everybody in Call of Duty is satisfied. Um, and that's where you run into all the problems that they've had. I mean, like that's what we've got right now because I think we last episode it was that day or the day after that season 4 was launching,
Mhm.
which I did play a little bit of. It's okay, but I will say too, because the big problem that everyone is complaining about is the stability issues,
Mhm.
and especially the hackers. I haven't dealt with this, but dude, the stability issues at first, bro, they're still bad. Like I when I go and
Mhm.
play, like I didn't tell you last episode, my Wi-Fi was kind of like trash,
Mhm.
and I was pissed, right? And I had these people come, and now it's all good, and I was like, okay, let me go and play, bro. I was bugging. I was checking my speeds, and they were still good. Like there's no
Mhm.
problem. Like I was getting all the numbers that I wanted to. Trying to load into games, it was
Mhm.
impossible. I just couldn't get into a lobby. And when I did get into lobbies, one of the games that I got into, it ended halfway through. It just got kicked out and it gave me some error, you
Mhm.
know, which is insane.
Yeah, see, this is the problem with, what is it, like, on-demand, like, games. You can just update them whenever, and you're just updating this giant app the whole time. Like, something's gonna go wrong, no matter what. And hopefully the thing that goes wrong is something very small, like it's cosmetic or scoreboard's glitched or something like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually joining the game, yeah, I mean, that's a big problem.
Yeah, like, dude, you can't even play the game,
Mhm.
And I think I saw, I don't know if it was Paul X or it was somebody on Twitter just before, and they were saying, no, it was Kismet. He's like, every game that I'm loading into, it's just riddled with these hackers.
Mhm.
Which to my thing, I'm like, okay, this whole Ricochet anti cheat that they've been
Yeah.
talking about, and they were putting out all the tweets and saying that they're banning all these people and so on and so forth. It still hasn't amounted to nothing
Mhm. Yeah.
on June 2nd of 2025, we're still dealing with the day one problems that plague this game.
Mhm. I mean, yeah, like the cheaters just multiplied, dude. Again, like I legit, I have no idea what you can do to fix it
Yeah.
because there are just really bad human beings out in the world that just want to cheat on COD over
Right.
and over. And like you and I, at least, like we don't experience it all that much, if any at all, like in pubs. But man, I'd be pissed if I was a pro and every time I joined a lobby, like everyone's out for them, just to say, look, I killed Kismet in the match. Like I went 50-0 against Kismet in this match. Like no one really cares. Like that's not that big of a flex. Like in today's age, I feel like back in the day it was, when we were growing up talking about it around the lunch tables. But um, yeah, I think the cheaters just keep multiplying. No matter how many they get rid of, they're just gonna pop back up.
Yeah, and they completely ruined this whole launch to season
Yeah.
4 too.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's fully on them. I think there definitely was some issues on like the developer side, like or publishing side of it, because yeah, the whole like disconnecting from games and not being
Mhm.
able to properly match make, like I've been playing this game pretty consistently throughout like the whole time, and
Mhm.
I never really had that issue. Sometimes if you go and play a certain mode,
Mhm.
it's a little tough. Sometimes kill confirm can get a little slim, unfortunately, but like to be sitting there for no bullshit like 5-6 minutes
Mhm.
actual
Mhm.
just
I
matchmaking
mean,
away, that's crazy,
that
you
was
know.
us in Vanguard. We couldn't join
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah,
games.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking, dude. I was like, "Bro," I almost texted you about it, be like, "Dude, it's fucking Vanguard all over again." You
Yeah.
know? It's the same problem. Um, and I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, they had a lot of hype going behind this because of, the return of, what was the map? Was it Fringe?
Yeah,
Um,
Fringe.
but dude, most of the stuff that they're putting out, again, it's always gonna get overshadowed by this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
They wanna go and put some shiny object in front of you and make it seem like, oh, we're gonna have a really good season this time. Um, but you can't forget all of the huge errors that are still going on in the background
Mhm.
that honestly they just overshadow everything else. Like I go in and I play and I don't really feel like a lot has changed,
Mhm. Well, I mean,
from like season 2 to season 3 and now to this. And it's like, yep, now these things are just enhanced.
yeah, yeah. I mean, joining a lobby is pretty that's a big issue right there. If you can't join a lobby, it takes forever or you just get kicked out, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's a problem with these large updates that they have to do. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Um and obviously it happened this time, but yeah, no, I was looking at season 4 like stuff that they included, and I was curious about some of the skins and like Black Cell stuff that they added. I saw that they're adding or they did add the, I think it's like the Black Cell like masterclass skin or whatever, and it
Hmm.
was an armadillo. I was
Yeah.
like, you got to pay $25 for this thing?
Bro, that's where all their focus is.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like they're just trying to hope and pray on cashing in on the idiots who
Yeah.
are going to be paying that money for that stuff. And hope that that just makes up the difference, like those people who want to be playing in the new season and buying all the new stuff is just going to be enough for them to like break even or make some money, and they don't really care that much about the vast majority of the other
Mhm.
problems that they've had because they're like, well, at this point, screw it. Like,
Mhm.
people are still been playing the game. Why are we going to put any more money and resources into trying to fix this problem that we know we're not going to fix?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a problem. And I saw too along those lines with it. That's kind of what I wanted to chat about a bit because regarding the mastercrafts that they had in there, um, I had to go in and double check this because, I don't really deal with any of those.
Mhm.
Um, but people were talking about how like advertisements for these master crafts have made their way in there. Like when you're going to select a loadout, which is
Mhm.
true. If you go in there and select any of those guns, they like immediately put
Oh
it
yeah,
up
yeah,
on
they
the
put
like,
yeah.
oh, you want to buy it now? Buy it now,
Mhm.
you know? Um, which I think is new to this season that they're like really trying to force it down your throat.
Mhm.
Um, and when at the end of the day, I'm like, dude, this stuff isn't even that good. Like, bro, we're talking about armadillos. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't really give a damn that much. Give me something cool.
Mhm.
But there was a article that I saw. It was IGN and posted it, and I thought it was a really interesting take on it, saying that players are feeling like COD has become a mobile game because
Mhm.
of the amount of advertisements, which we all know. Like if you played like Temple Run, you die, and then it's like
Yeah.
you got to wait through the 30, 40 seconds of ads. Um, I wonder if Activision's going too far with this. If they're like really drinking the Kool-Aid and they're going to start alienating a lot of people because these problems that we're talking about right now, they're not going to get fixed and they're just going to keep trying to push stuff on us to try to buy. And people are going to get fed up with it. I wonder if that's the
Mhm.
future with this.
Yeah. I mean, they've I don't know to what extent that they've done it, but they've definitely implemented in the like past other CODs too, where like you'll hover over any weapon and then it'll show like your blueprint, but the blueprints that you have, or no, the blueprints that for that weapon, it's only ones you have to buy. And then you have to scroll all the way to the bottom to the ones that you actually own. Um, and now I'm sure they're doing the same exact thing with, you know, buy this mastercraft for this weapon, like right when you're selecting it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're gonna, if they keep doing that, no one likes ads just shoved in their face over and over and over again. What would really suck is if like in between matches or whatever, you're trying to create a class and that shit just keeps popping up and you can't create the class that you want, and then you load into a game and then you have to do it mid game.
Right. I'm waiting for them to go in. They're gonna get rid of the loading screen in like to the new map that you're gonna be playing on, and it's just gonna be like some
Yeah, yeah.
mastercraft, and they're like, buy now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's where I'm waiting for them to go with it. Dude, my thing is, how the hell did Call of Duty in general survive back in the day?
Mhm.
Like, how did it make so much money and have so much success when all they were dishing out was map packs?
Well, I'm sure they made money just off of the sales of the games. and then the map packs and stuff were just bonus. And now when microtransactions were added into COD, they're like, wait a minute, this is kind of like an infinite money glitch. We can
Right.
make more like, I wouldn't be surprised if they made more money or pretty close to the amount that they make on the sales of the games to the transactions. But that's like the whole the free to play model, right? Like you get the game for free, but then you have a bunch of microtransactions that, will add up to probably a purchase of one game, right? Um, which that I understand though, because the game's free. They're constantly like, the way that they're gonna make money is off of like those microtransactions. Um, but Activision is like, we want the cake and we're also gonna eat it too.
Yeah.
And like, you're charging us $70 for this game, okay, and you're gonna make a ton of money off of sales, and then on top of that, let's sell you $25 skins, and we're gonna make more money off of the skins than the actual game.
Dude, the greed has gotten out of hand.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure they could not have any microtransactions and they'd be perfectly fine.
But I wonder if people would be happy. That's what I
That
wonder. Like,
I mean,
would people be happier with playing this game if
mhm.
there wasn't so much being shoved down your throat
Well,
all the time?
so
Like,
yeah. So that's a good question, because there are people like, I mean, our Optic Hex. I mean, shout out Hex. Love the guy. But he's one of the guys that likes where you can buy the season pass and pay for everything. Because his argument, which is completely fair, like, he doesn't have the time like the younger kids to just sit there all day and play. But he does have the means of just buying everything, and everything's unlocked. So then he can load in and not have to level everything up. So it's like that balance you need to find, right? Between people that sit and grind like you and I, or people that just want to just buy everything outright because they can.
yeah.
Um, but that's why I like the Black Ops 4 system, because we don't need to use actual money. We can like win coins, COD points, or whatever.
Yeah, I still think that was the best system for microtransactions ever in a
Mhm.
Call of Duty. Being able to just grind the game out and still earn everything that you wanted. From like just buy if you wanted to go and spend $20 and buy a bunch of COD points to open crates, you could. But I liked how there was nothing that was off limits. Everybody had the same access to everything if you just played the game.
Mhm.
Um, and now that's impossible.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that that is simply not the case now. All these Mastercraft bundles that you want to go and buy, or the Black Cell stuff, um, it's unattainable
Mhm.
unless you go and put your credit card information to go and pay for that stuff, which I think is a real disservice to it. I really dislike how they've done that over the past couple of years now, where, again, back in the day, it was like what you're paying for is you're paying for the game and you're going to be able to have access to
Mhm.
everything that you want in the game by playing it. You paid your $70. And to Hex's point, if you want to go pay more because you don't have time, you can. But here is the other option. We're not going to limit you or force you down one way.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and now you have.
Yeah, and the only exceptions I see from that are like the like partnerships that they do with like the WWE, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, special stuff like that. I can understand, right? Um, but like the Black Cell stuff, for example, I mean, we're already buying the season pass technically. Why do we need to buy the Black Cell outfit after getting the season pass? And we already grinded our way through, like,
Right.
and we should just go back to the loot crate thing where, all right, if you want to spend the money or trade in like an insane amount of loot crates for this skin, like a Black Cell skin, you should be able to do that. Or if you don't want to do that and like potentially gamble like your loot crates and see if you get that skin, you should be able to.
Right.
Um, and then yeah, I mean, I understand with the collabs and stuff, like you can't do that because those collabs, they're gonna their partners are going to want to make some revenue off of it too, which makes sense. But I mean, you and I always buy the Boston Breach skin. Like, we have no problem with supporting, other collabs, but it's just the fact that there's so many things now that we just can't buy that aren't collabs. that should be able to we should be able to purchase it through in-game currency without putting our money down.
Right. And again, the fact that you can't earn that stuff through just playing the game is a real problem.
Mhm,
You know, again, I we played a lot of Black Ops 3, like no doubt, grinded that game. Um, but I didn't feel like it was impossible. Every time you'd play a game or you'd maybe get 2 or 3 games done, you'd earn those keys.
mhm,
It wasn't like, oh yeah, you go and you play 10, 15 games and you get 2 keys,
mhm,
and in order to buy a common, it's 10 keys. And to buy a legendary, it's like
mhm,
30, where you're sitting there thinking, dude, I have to play this game for 7, 8 hours just to unlock one crate. It wasn't like that at all.
mhm,
You could play for probably 5, 6 hours. You could, by the end of that, if you were doing well, you could open up like a decent amount of crates just from playing.
mhm,
Um, but now that there's stuff that is completely locked off and it's not even in the realm of possibility because you don't earn COD points through playing the game. The only
mhm.
time that you earn those COD points is really just through the season pass if you buy it,
Yeah.
and then you get to a certain tier or you're buying certain tiers and it's like, oh yeah, here's 100 COD points, here's 200 COD points, you know. In
Mhm.
our system, we have to use that those COD points that we use for the next season,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we can't, yeah, there's no other way for us to be able to get any more COD points than what they dish out to you
Mhm,
throughout the season. Um, and again, I'm totally with it. Where if you have the CDL teams, and again, you can't even use COD points to buy those. You have to use normal
mhm,
money. I'm totally in favor of that because that's like, one, it's kind of a separate thing for multiplayer. And then again, with other brands, like, yeah, of course they have to make their money too. I get it. But yeah, for the vast majority of things that you want to have access to, you want to have everybody who plays the game can just enjoy the game and play it. And I think more people would play the game if that was the case. You put out a sick bundle
mhm.
and it's like, oh well, you're gonna have to grind for it. Well, now I have a goal.
Yeah, yeah, and like, not that I wouldn't put it past Activision if they did this, but if it was like, the GTA level of you have to grind so much to um get like $1 million or whatever, I wouldn't put it past Activision to do that. But at the end of the day, at least it's somewhat achievable. Like, you and I grind the game enough to where we can probably make that up, and then like get that skin or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a missed opportunity there with like every season. Like, you have this one skin, you can either just buy it, like the Black Cell skin, just buy it outright because you don't want to grind it out, or we just grind it out, you know. Which, the other thing is, if we're grinding out the season pass that we already paid for, and we get to the max tier, we should just get it immediately because we already grinded. Now we hit the max tier. Now we have to pay money to get the actual skin. Like, then what's the point of grinding it?
Right. It doesn't seem like there's any point to it,
Yeah.
you know. And part of it too, it's totally subjective. But some of the stuff that they put out that you're actually getting, it's
Hmm.
kind of hit or miss.
Hmm.
You know, if I'm going to be spending all that time trying to grind for a certain skin or a camo,
Hmm.
you know, I want it to be worthwhile. Like I want them to put something out that's really good,
Hmm.
and I remember a lot of the rare camos that they put out back in Black Ops 3, like a lot of the reactive ones, they were sick. And this game
Hmm.
has some too for sure. Like there's some that would have been worth grinding if you could. Um,
Hmm.
but then there's a lot of stuff that really just looks like it's copy paste,
Hmm.
from like one season to the next. And again, even if you could grind for it, you wouldn't really want to.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's weird. The older games, they just had better free stuff, like the reactive camos that you could grind for. They're all so much cooler. And yeah, it's subjective, but the stuff that they're releasing now, like you said, isn't as cool. And I think everyone can agree on that. The stuff
Yeah,
we got back then was free and you could grind for it and it was actually worth it.
and they wonder why people complain so much about this game,
Hmm.
Like when you look back to what we had and what you were able to do and like how far that $60 went into the game,
Hmm.
um, it was totally worth it. Not saying COD now is not worth it. It depends, but I honestly, it depends on what kind of player you are. If you're
Mhm,
someone who's got, a lot of time and wants to be playing and you just like you're like us, you genuinely enjoy the game, like, yeah, of course you're going to be, buying it. But,
mhm.
um, if you're expecting a lot of that cool stuff to be, coming down the pipeline from you playing the game, it's just not reality. That's not how it is anymore. It used to be like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but again, bro, it was the greed. The
Yeah, it was
greed the
agreed.
greed of these people
Yeah,
literally killed Call of Duty. Like
yeah.
I will have to go and figure out when exactly it was, but I really think it was probably MW 2019.
Mhm.
Was that the first year that they went to the season pass model?
Yeah, I think yeah.
I think it was. We actually look at when did COD start the season pass? Now it says when did COD start going downhill? No, that's
Um,
subjective.
I think it was 2019.
It was, it
Yeah,
was
because yeah, Black Ops 4 there were no seasons. It was just, your normal updates.
fire game.
Yeah. And they introduced the seasons because of, Fortnite.
Yeah,
Which, like, if you look at
true.
another game that changed gaming in general, it's Fortnite. Call of Duty is like that older brother that changed, everything. And then Fortnite came around and they changed the gaming community too. And now a bunch of developers are like, "Oh, wait. This season pass like a model is a really great way to make a bunch of revenue." But Fortnite's free. Anyone can play. And the developer or these publishers are just realizing like, wait, we can charge the season pass on top of making them pay for the game too, and we can update it anytime we want. Let's just do that.
Right. Yeah, and they were like, "Wait, that game's free? No, screw that. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we've always had to pay for the game. We're not going to change that anytime soon."
yeah.
You know. Um Yeah, they obviously Fortnite of course changed the game. Everybody
Mhm,
knows that. That is one of it'll go down as one of the most pivotal games of all time. Because they pretty much they influenced everybody after this.
mhm,
Um, but again, it is the corporate greed of some of these people who took it way too far and they ruined it.
mhm,
Um, because I could be wrong because I'm not in that sphere. But I don't hear anywhere near as many people complaining about Fortnite as
mhm.
I do with Call of Duty, especially on the topic of what we're talking about. I don't hear people complaining about like or seeing any Dexerto articles where they're like, this new Fortnite skin that came out is $20.
Yeah.
And
Mhm,
people are up in arms about it because, bro, you're paying $20 for one skin or like,
mhm,
a bundle of stuff. Um, I just never hear that because I think they've got that. And what we're definitely talking about here is there's a balance
mhm,
that needs to be hit. You know, you need to give those options to the player like GTA does, where anybody who's working at Rockstar would be like, well, what do you mean? Like, of course you can earn everything in the game just by playing the game. If you
mhm,
want to go that route, you totally can, and you can't argue with them because they're right. you
mhm,
know they're not going to talk about how it's a grind. It's like, well, it that's what it is,
mhm.
but you can do it. We're not saying you can't. Call of Duty flat out says, no, you can't. You
Yeah.
cannot do this. You have the only way is via your credit card.
Mhm,
Um, and it's way too expensive.
mhm,
If they had these bundles come out and they were $5, $10, like max,
mhm.
or again, if they were going to charge 25, like I better be getting a lot of good stuff in this. Um, I don't think people would complain nearly as much, but it's like everything's at that level. And the things that are for $10, it's like, what do you get? Like you get some it's celebration at the end and like a couple of weapon charms.
Mhm.
Like it's a pretty tough sell for what they're trying to offer you.
Yeah, and, like, people in the Fortnite scene, they get mad about the game itself and, like, the maps and whatever, which that's what you should care about when the game's free. And, I mean,
Right.
in general, like, that's what everybody should be complaining about a game, right? But, um, COD, there's just there are problems within the game, and then there are problems, like, outside of the game too. So,
Right.
it's just not good. Um, and, yeah, I think, like you said, the greed, the, um amount of like resources that they have. They're spreading themselves so thin with just everything they have going on. And they're just so big. I think they're at the point where they don't know, like, they can't make a quick decision to be like, all right, we're going this direction. Like, there's no way they can say, all right, let's just split up Warzone and Call of Duty. Warzone needs to be its own thing. And then Call of Duty will be what Call of Duty was, which is campaign, multiplayer, and then zombies. Warzone needs to be its own separate entity. Like,
Right.
you know, but I think we're past that. I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
COD is so big and it's worth so much money. It's like an ocean liner trying to move it to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know, like anything that they put in place, it's going to take years and years for it to actually get towards that direction, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to one portion of the game, like when it comes to us for the multiplayer side, they can still make those moves. Um, but there needs to be a real shift with Call of Duty as a whole with these issues here because like I said at the beginning of all this stuff, like it's the hackers and the problems with connectivity, not just in multiplayer, but it's in Warzone too, because it's all integrated into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's a problem. And then you run into all these things or all these issues, and now you get pretty much 100% of your player base can't play the game and is pissed off at you because of something that honestly needs to be fixed. Like not just the issue of hackers, but like the integration of both of them. That
Mm-hmm.
issue needs to be resolved. And is it going to happen next year or the year after that?
Yeah.
Like absolutely not. It's going to take a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. And like going into next year with Black Ops 7, like it's going to be the same devs again, or guys at Treyarch. But what can they do? Like,
Right.
oh, what are they going to shake up? Are we just going to drop seasons completely? Because I doubt that's going to happen. And the thing I will say about the seasons, I don't think seasons are a bad thing if they were done right. They're not done right in this. Um, like if you're looking at season 4, the updates, right? Like I get it. It's towards a later end of the year of the COD cycle. So you're not getting a lot of stuff. But there's not a lot of stuff at all, like in this update. So why was there an issue with the update? You know?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. I think the seasons just need to be more consistent
mhm,
throughout the entire course of the game. Um, of course, they want to generate hype and interest like early on. But man, you do that by making a good game.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people off the rip when this game came out were day one complaining about the maps.
Mhm,
I remember that. And I know you do too. That was the first problem that they had, which of course is the basis for pretty much every good FPS that you're going to play is you need to have good maps. And then they try to remedy it with all these new maps that they're going to add in or remastered maps,
mhm,
um, which you could debate, whether you think those are good additions or bad. I think they're fine. I don't think it's
mhm,
really that big of an issue. Like if Fringe comes back, but when it's bundled with all these other issues that come along with
mhm,
it, that's when people are just like, what's even the point of it? Like, who cares if you
mhm,
add these new maps in
mhm,
and do all this stuff in the seasons trying to again gain interest with it when you've got all these other problems here that you're just going to
mhm.
completely neglect.
Yeah, and it's the speed of which they're doing it too, because I'm sure it's not them. It's the timeline that Activision has, right? Like it has
Mhm.
to be like this, where the game launched, like you said, people are upset about the maps, but they're like, wait, we have a big catalog of maps that are coming that are ready. Okay, fuck your plan. Just release,
Right,
try to recover and
right,
put out Fringe now. Put out firing range now. Throw like a couple out
right.
right away. But no, they have to stick onto their timeline of nope, season 4 it's gonna have Fringe. Like we can't release it early.
Yeah, yeah. And like jumping ahead to Black Ops 7, I do remember that they were saying that map or that game is going to have all Black Ops 2 maps.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to be the basis of the game, like it's just going to be all those maps. Um but my hope with a strategy like that, when you put out those maps, of course, they can't just, copy paste them. They still have to rework them and everything.
Mhm.
But I'm hoping that that initial intrigue in the game, like they capture it because the maps are going to be good, or,
Mhm.
at least that's our hope. But then they could also just take time away from that and fix the big issues that are going to keep people playing the game for,
Mhm.
months and months, just through the rest of the year, you know? Because again, all the stuff that we're saying, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but if you've got hackers in the game, that kills everything. If you
Mhm.
have people that are going into the game and ruining it for the vast majority of players, or again, like right now, all these connectivity issues, dude, I don't care how good your game is.
Mhm.
If you can't do that, then you're not going to play, you
Yeah, yeah.
know?
If you can't play the game,
Well, yeah,
it's already over.
yeah, and from there, like you kind of lose interest in it, you
Mhm.
know? I mean, dude, I like even like a really dumb example. I remember back in the day playing Ratchet and Clank
Mhm.
on my PS2, and I always remember it because there was a like the third planet you'd go to in the game. There was this cutscene to get this gadget, and every time it froze right
Mhm.
there for whatever reason. It was like my copy of the game was like that. I didn't beat that game for another 8 years
Mhm.
because of that one thing that bothered me from like an amazing game. But it was just like one hurdle in there where I could have probably returned it or like gotten another copy of the game and played it. But I was like, oh, dude, forget it. Like I was so annoyed. I'd play it like 3 times to see if it
Mhm.
was just some problem, like a little small thing. But no, it would always happen, and it totally killed me.
Mhm.
And it's the same with COD. People are gonna go on season 4, they're like, "Oh, they'll go play a little bit," and then they're not loaded into a game. They're like, "Fucking
Yeah.
knew it. Shouldn't have even bothered, bro." And
Mhm.
then they ain't gonna pick it up again. What are they gonna go on? Oh, the game's all connected again. They're like, "Ah, okay, cool." Like,
Yeah. Or
that
the
was
game's
2 weeks.
connected. They load into it, hackers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's like those things, I think they overlooked that,
Mhm.
to a little bit of how important that is because a lot of us, like, we're all kind of, I say short-sighted, that's not really the right term, but, just like you don't have like your attention span is very
Yeah.
short when it comes to stuff like that. Like when I want to play a game, I want to play a game like
Mhm.
now, and I want to have a good experience playing the game.
Mhm.
And if you've got problems in the game that have again not been resolved for years,
Mhm.
and now they're directly impacting me and my experience, I won't bother anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And with Black Ops 7 having those remastered maps, I that is like not their you know, final or whatever, like their last call, but there's only so many great maps you can remaster, and Black Ops 2 is like especially in competitive, like the pinnacle of a great competitive game and great competitive maps. And there's supposed to be wall running in Black Ops 7. If they fuck that up, I mean, you and I like MW3 maps and they haven't remastered those, but like there's not like you can't fuck up raid. You can't.
Right.
You can't fuck up like slums or express, you know.
Standoff.
Yeah, standoff. Like these are maps that everybody remembers and you're playing with like a lot of fire right there.
Right.
And if you mess that up, there's not a lot to fall back on anymore.
Right.
So I hope, like you said, they remaster those maps and then have a lot of brand new maps like ready to go for backup.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course making sure that the launch of that game is smooth,
Mhm.
and it starts with fixing these problems that they have here. I mean, hopefully they learn from their mistakes with the season 4 stuff because Um, I'm sure you've been seeing it too. I mean, it's been pretty big. I
Mhm.
haven't heard any issue like this happening. I mean, there hasn't been an issue like this happening in the other launches of seasons. Like, yeah, of course, when ranked came out, there was the problem that's still there. Um, but just on the casual side of playing this, when now they're panicking because it's like, oh, the ranked people, screw those people, who cares? It's just a small percentage. But now
Yeah.
when it's the guys who are getting home from work and they want to go play a couple of games and now they can't, now they're scared, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And they should be. Screw them. They need to learn. They need to
Mhm.
fix these mistakes, bro. They can't just keep sweeping this under the rug. Like
Mhm.
They got to get a grip here at some point. And I hope for the sake of Black Ops 7 when that game launches that some of this stuff is smoothed out a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they gotta smooth it out, right?
Yeah.
At this point,
Yeah.
and Treyarch's leading it, so I don't even know what's happening with them. Like, if wall running is actually added back into COD for next year, that you know, whatever, you and I are fine with it. But the maps that they're adding, you're gonna have to change that to wall running and change the maps a little bit, which completely understand. But I really think like you cannot mess up Black Ops 2 like remasters. That's like the pinnacle of so many people's, favorite Call of Duty,
Right.
especially in competitive too. Um, so yeah, like you can't mess up Raid. I know they brought all those maps back from MW2, those remastered maps, and people got tired of them really quick because they don't play the same. they can they
Yeah,
can only do
and
so
that's
much.
and that's a worry of mine too, for sure.
Hmm.
You know, um, I don't want it to be a case of like, you know, didn't they listen? Didn't they learn from their past mistake here? Like
Hmm.
people saw how tired they got of MW3 with the maps.
Hmm.
Um, and to think that they're going to go and do it again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're just banking on the fact that Treyarch is doing this
Hmm.
and they're adding a new element to the maps, or what. I really don't know. But it is a concern of mine that people are, again, going to look at these maps when Black Ops 7 comes out and be like, dude, this just isn't it. And especially like we were saying earlier, can you imagine the young people go and play this for the
Yeah.
first time? They're loading in, they're like, dude, what's the hype between like up with these maps, bro? They suck,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then we'll be over here like, you don't get it, bro.
Yeah.
You this map hit different back on the original Black Ops
Yeah.
2. Like this, it doesn't feel the same. Like, are we gonna be saying that? I sure should hope not.
I hope not. I mean, like, and if we are, like, I hope that's only within like the first month or two of the game. And Treyarch's like, look, we have like 18 other maps like ready to go that are
Right.
coming out. Like
Right.
they have to have brand new maps like ready to go.
Yeah.
Because, you know, MW2 remastered maps didn't hit, obviously. People got
Yeah.
bored very quick.
Yeah. No, for sure. So it is an interesting debate. I'm curious what people listening, what you guys think about it, regarding like the launch of Black Ops 7. If you think it is going to be a success with these old maps, and then also too with our whole conversation on the microtransaction side. Like let us know down in the comments on YouTube, and I'll have a question on Spotify too, letting people know what they think about it. I'd be very curious because it is an interesting debate to see where COD has gone and where it may continue to go.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know if it's really going to be beneficial to the life of the game. I mean, of course, everybody says that COD's going to die. That's complete. It's hyperbole. Like it's not going to
Hmm.
happen. But is it going to be a rich man's game, Justin? Is it going to be?
Yeah.
If you want to fully enjoy it, do you got to
Yeah.
be making that big optic hex
Yeah.
money?
Yeah. Or is COD just gonna be a big ad the
Yeah,
entire like
exactly.
is yeah, okay. Last thing, the fact that they can show these advertisements like in the load screen, like buy this, buy that. Why aren't they doing that with the CDL? Like load it like Champs is coming. There should be advertisements all over for every single team that qualified, you know?
They're going to do it like a week before. Champs is
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Champs is in like less than a month. They need
Yeah.
to do it now.
Yeah, they need to start advertising all the time. Try to push some of those skins that
Yeah.
they have, from like the CDL packs. 'Cause some of them they're cool.
Yeah.
And again for them, dude, they've got
And
no problem making money. Like
yeah.
they should just go in and say that, and then there'd be I'm sure plenty of people who would go and buy them.
Mhm. And they're
You know,
capable of pushing the content out too. I
right,
mean, they're doing that with all their blueprints and stuff,
right, and
so
give the CDL some money, give them success, bro, because we
yeah,
don't want
give
to
it
see that die out. Again, that's another sect of the whole
oh,
thing
yeah.
that we haven't even talked about, and they don't even talk about it. That's why it's in the dumps.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah.
Like, they don't even know
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Well, we're watching, like, all of our favorite players that are, like, our age slowly, like, dying off and retiring, and the CDL was kinda part of it. It's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, no, legit. It's like it's the Grim Reaper. It's gone and killed all these people off.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and it's up to the players now and the CDL to be like, "Alright, we gotta
we got to
figure
turn this
something
ship
out."
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, man, I think that's it honestly for this episode. This was a good talk.
Yeah.
So again, everybody who's been listening to this episode, we appreciate you so much. Again, be sure to let us know in the conversation down on YouTube or on Spotify. We'd love to hear your opinions on it. And again, be sure to go to anchor.fm/COD Casuals, since we're there on all stream platforms. And of course, going to the Instagram and TikTok. If you don't watch the whole episode, please head over there. Then, of course, if you want to keep in contact with us in the loop, just go to Twitter or X/COD Casuals, since we're there all the time. On all platforms, on Spotify, please 5-star rating. We appreciate it. It does us a big favor. We appreciate all the support that we've gotten. And yeah, I think that does it, bro.
Yeah.
So again, everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode number 225 of the COD Casuals podcast. We're your host, Mike.
I'm Justin.
And we'll see you guys next week. Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.